the beginning of the 50s, the CIA was training overseas, foreign police officers, in their own countries, basically like on an ad hoc basis.
Yeah.
And by the mid 50s, the NSC starts calling for permanent police assistance, and so it starts to get institutionalized in DC. All this, there's a bunch of reorganization, whatever. It all basically comes under the aegis of our favorite. You know them, you love them, USAID.
We love USAID. Shout out
to our funders.
USAID.
Our funders and our founders.
You know
we
what?
love you.
You guys are great.
So they opened this thing called the International Police Academy, which is great
My
name.
alma mater. I graduated summa cum laude from that motherfucker.
That's in Washington, D.C. In 1963. OPS runs the entire place. They are out of this International Police Academy. They're training paramilitary forces in riot control. They're training counter guerrilla action. They're training in surveillance. And, officers from Honduras, Jakarta, Brazil, Vietnam, you name it, they're there.
So you could basically say this is like the policing version of something like the School of the Americas.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
I just don't understand, because if they're teaching you the best way to tear out a guy's fingernails, couldn't they centralize into like one place?
They basically, they kind of did.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
advisors were designing and testing universally applicable policing technologies overseas and then bringing them home.
Gotcha.
Some of this training included riot training, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that starts to happen early on at Fort Belvoir and Fort Gordon, and it culminates in the building of this huge staging area called Riotsville, which is similar but smaller to what it looks like Cop City is going to be.
Yes. So I've seen the documentary.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Riotsville, USA.
I think it's on Netflix streaming.
I saw it in a movie theater.
That's crazy. You see so many more movies.
So this is something that I knew we couldn't get away from, no matter how this. Because when I told you this, there was a pause, and then you were like, "You see a lot of movies."
No, because you said you saw the other movie yesterday.
What other movie?
Everywhere, Everything, All the Time, or whatever it's called.
First of all, pause. Second of all, I will say Riotsville, USA, significantly superior to that.
I'm just saying, I can't believe you saw that movie.
Yeah, I had nothing to do. It was like a Thursday.
That's what I'm saying. You see a lot of movies.
That was like 8 months ago. That was probably we're not getting into this. Okay?
I just found out about this movie.
I Pee-wee Herman'd my way out of that movie theater.
All right.
I thought that movie was too hella random for me. I will say that. Oh, butts.
What?
It was Rick and Morty.
As someone who doesn't know
people.
anything about this movie, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Anyways. Yes, so I saw the movie, and I actually had known, I was interested in it because I knew I like going to see a documentary. I'm like, I know a thing or two about this. It's all archival footage. There's no talking heads or anything like that. It'll be really interesting to see. So I went and saw it. I did. The movie itself, I got to be honest with you, dragged for me in portions. It got a little too artsy.
But it's all archival footage,
it's all
right?
Except for some of the artsy parts. But yes, it's all archival footage. I will say it was really fascinating because this is something that, like, if you pay attention at all to like how militaries train or how police train or anything like this, the fake city is a major component of that.
Yeah.
And that's something I got really into like a couple years ago of just looking up like these more insane like training bases that people were using, because some of them get really intense.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like they'll make like whole fake, villages and all that kind of stuff. And obviously every couple years there's some like racist photographs escape from this place of like a 19-year-old white guy dressed as in like full hijab. The movie basically like shows how this place was built, and then it shows the actual demonstrations that they used during these things. Like they would have some soldiers play anti-Vietnam War protesters, and then they would have those soldiers essentially fight MPs or other soldiers. And I know other people use the facility, but there was only footage of American soldiers and National Guard training on it, probably for various reasons that one can imagine. And they would have like full scale riots and like, you know, they would have the police and it's sort of crazy footage to see because it really looks like what you would see of like a military takeover, like full on military control of America with like Jeeps lining up with like, you know, young black guys and like who are soldiers, in handcuffs and like putting them on the back there, you know, beating people into the back of trucks and stuff like that. It's really sort of like, jarring to see. And like, you know, it's this sort of ruthlessness. And it's these same techniques that these soldiers, if they were deployed to Vietnam, would use on, you know, Vietnamese people in cities or in farms and something like that. You know, this sort of this domestic, or not, excuse me, at that point it would be international counterinsurgency program is what they were training for.
Yeah, and we should say that like counterinsurgency too is not just like physically fighting back. And that actually a ton of counterinsurgency training is focused on intelligence gathering.
Yes.
And identifying leaders of dissident groups and how like operational like what their operational techniques are in terms of communication and how to kind of figure out who's who and what's what. Like I think so much is kind of at least, you know, when you have in your head like, okay, you've got a mock city, it's just the cops practicing how to brutalize people. And yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But the flip side of that is also the more I don't know how to like brain intensive work. That's not the right way to put it.
Work.
But the thinking cops work where it's actually like trying to figure out how to either embed yourself or how to actually get in the protesters' heads or anticipate what kind of moves they're going to make before they make them. Yeah. And that's such a I just think that's such an important technology of the police to highlight because it's often, I mean, it can be, if someone's good at that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, your days are numbered.